Fresh data says the American consumer is already in recession. Meanwhile, inflation expectations are now higher than any time during Bidenflation. It's a Bidenomics miracle just 4.5 months before the election. The consumer numbers come from the widely cited University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey, which is pretty much the gold standard of what consumers, also known as Americans, think about current and future economic conditions. Now, consumer spending makes up roughly 2/3 of the economy, so this is one of the most widely watched numbers on Wall Street. Well, last month, the consumer survey tanked, going from 69 to just 65.6. Now, anything under 70 is historically a recession, meaning that according to the gold standard, we are in a recession. Congratulations. It's worth noting that Wall Street had expected a 72 on the survey, not a 65. That's a 3 sigma miss, expected by chance just 0.27% of the time. So either they are smoking the wacky tobacco on Wall Street, or they really, really want to sugarcoat this economy. My friend Joe Consorti broke down the numbers. After a quick bump into expansion last September, the economy has been all downhill, plunging at the fastest rate since the 2008 crisis, and of course since lockdowns. That calendar almost perfectly coincided with the upswing in inflation I've talked about recently, which also started in October, suggesting that when the BEA gets around to announcing the formal recession, presumably after the election, since they are politically aware gentlemen, September or October should be the prime suspects. Speaking of inflation, that's where Michigan got really ugly. The average response has absolutely soared, hitting 5.3% for the average inflation expectation over the next 5 to 10 years. That is very bad. In fact, during the worst of Bidenflation, when actual inflation was a statistical adjustment shy of double digits, inflation expectations never got above the mid-4s. Here we are at 5.3. Joe notes this is exactly what happened in the 1970s inflationary double peak, when headline CPI drops were accompanied by soaring expectations that, as always, turn out correct. Suddenly, that's one of the odder quirks of Wall Street, is that consumers predict inflation. In fact, they predict many numbers better than either the Fed or Wall Street, begging the question why we have government and Wall Street analysts. But then that's another video. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. The chickens are coming home to roost on Washington's grotesque mismanagement of our economy. From the Inflation Reduction Act that actually increased inflation but paid off green billionaires, to the endless trillions we are shelling out for wars, mass migration, really anything so long as it doesn't help average Americans. The regime media hypes their baked numbers, claiming everything is fine, even as real incomes collapse, down $1.4 trillion in 3 years, and even as the headline jobs turn out to be all gig work, government jobs, and migrants. Of course, regular Americans see the truth because they are actually living in the real economy. For now, they are speaking through surveys. Soon enough, they shall be speaking at the ballot box. Final point, this isn't just happening in America. Canadians, Brits, Europeans, and Japanese are all treading water, struggling to survive in a top-heavy economy dominated by donor-driven government spending at the expense of the people. This is reflected in gutter-level approval ratings. So during the recent G7 gala, commenters pointed out how every single leader, aside from Italy's Meloni, is sporting an approval rating in the 30s. Bottom line, people are angry, and it's tick-tock till they throw the clowns out. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.